Hello and welcome to my Arts and Crafts. I'm Libby and today I'll be showing you 5 ways to use the Simon Says Stamp Fresh Air Flowers stamp set. So here are the cards we will be making today. I'm going to start by just stamping the big flower first just to get a feel for the stamp set. I'm starting by using Concord and Ninth inks today. I think I use all Concord and Ninth inks for the most part. I'm starting with ballet slippers for the biggest layer, and then I will go to grapefruit, and then sorbet and marmalade. This is super easy to put together. They have letters and numbers on the stamp set to help you line all the images up, and it's pretty self-explanatory, as well as it's a more relaxed stamp set, so you have room for error there and nobody will know. For the leaves for the stamp set, I used a little bit of sprout and some parsley. For a background, I just wanted to give this simple flower a little bit of a more interesting background, so I cut the Pink Fresh Studio stained glass die from some light pink cardstock. I did that 3 times, and then I will layer them up here as you see. This is a little bit complicated to line up, but I did get them all lined up, and then I will add it to a piece of white cardstock. I could have just added it to the card base, but I didn't think of it at the time, so I added it to the white cardstock, and then I will add the white cardstock to the card base. This is an A2 size 4¼ by 5½ inch note card, and it's just a white note card. Then I will stamp the sentiment. There's several sentiments in the stamp set. I just chose one to stamp in Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I fussy cut the flower and the sentiment out, and then I will pop them up on some foam tape. For the sentiment, I only put part on the foam tape so it could overlap the flower. And I just centered that on the panel, and that pretty much finished it off. I will just bring in some sequins here to give a little bit of some extra interest, and that will pretty much finish this card off. And yeah, this one is super simple, but it's a great way to just get to know your stamp set. You can just choose one of the flowers and just focus on that flower. You don't have to use all the flowers in the stamp set to get a really pretty card. And so this is the finished card. Here is a more close-up look at the finished card. For the next card, I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to make a background using this bigger flower, and I wanted to do a little bit of ink blending on these flowers. It didn't turn out exactly as I was hoping it would, but you can do some blending with these to get a little bit more interest in your flower. I think I used, for the flower, I think I used grapefruit, sorbet, and marmalade, I believe. And then I also used a little Intense Black ink for the center. For the stem, I used sprout and parsley again. And for the flower, I just blended a little bit of the marmalade into each of the layers so that I could so it could be a little bit more of an orange flower, but I could get a variety of colors because I only had one orange in my set. So yeah, that was a great way to get more colors and extend them. And then you'll see I'm just blending them here. I debated on using another flower, but I decided to not do that and just keep it pretty simple. I will add a sentiment from the Honeybee Stamps Inside Kindness Sentiments here, and I will just stamp that with Intense Black ink from Simon Says Stamp as well to just finish that off. So you can blend on your stamps to get this unique look. I also had originally done, I was trying to make the background, but it failed, but I had one good flower, so I decided that I would just cut it out and pop it up on this other flower, and this just gives a little bit of dimension and interest to this card. So yeah, here is the finished card, and here's the up close look at that card. Then for the next card, I'm going to be using a dark kind of purpley blue colored cardstock, and I'm going to start by stamping in some white pigment ink. This one is from Hero Arts. It's the Unicorn Pigment ink, and I will just stamp all these flowers in a background style all over this card with the white pigment ink. We will step this up in a minute, but I'm going to start by stamping in the white pigment ink all over here. This does need a minute to dry because it is pigment ink, so I let it sit for a minute and I worked on another card while this was drying a little bit, and then I will come back and add some more color on top, which I will explain more in a minute. You could also just leave this with the white pigment ink. I thought it looked really cool this way as well. So if you are feeling just the white pigment ink, this is a great option as well. The only thing that you need for this technique is you just need like a dark colored cardstock. You could use black here. You could use another like dark red or a dark purple or something. I just chose this really pretty blue purple cardstock, and I just wanted to play with some blues here, so that's what I decided to do. Next, I'm going to offset the stamps a little bit, and I will just layer them up. I am using the colors of Aqua Sky, Oceanside, Midnight, I think I used Aqua Sky, Peacock, Midnight, and Eggplant from Concord and Ninth for the flowers, and I just did Aqua Sky for the base layer. And then for the next layer, I mixed a little bit of Peacock and a little bit of Midnight. And for the last layer, I mixed Midnight and Eggplant to just get the variation of color. And I just offset it a little bit so you could see the white through. And I thought that was really, really fun. This ended up being one of my favorite cards for sure. I thought it was really, really interesting. For the stems, I decided to do Sprout and Parsley again. Just for a little bit of pop of different color, but I wanted to keep it mostly monochromatic, so you can see that I used those blues, that bluish purple color scheme. Next, I'm stamping this Thanks Sentiment. I'm not sure where this was from. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby a while ago, and I'm not sure if you can get it anymore, but there is plenty of sentiments like this out there. I just stamped it with the same white pigment ink, and then I will add some Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder over top of it. You'll see I make a little mistake and I accidentally hit it, and I have to reapply the embossing powder, and then it gets kind of like fuzzy, and there's like extra bits of embossing powder around there, but I just decided to move on. There wasn't really a lot I could do. I should have put anti-static powder on it before I stamped it, but it was okay, and I think it looked good in the end. You know that I used thin cardboard layered up on the back of my panels to layer them up. It's a super cheap way, and it's really inexpensive, and it just uses what we already have, and it creates a lot of dimension on the cards, which I like. So that's how I popped up this panel and a lot of the panels you see today. And then I will add a little white heart under the Thanks Sentiment, and that will finish this card off. This was definitely one of my favorite cards. I really love how this technique turned out, and I think it was really, really fun. Okay, so next I have a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I'm going to be using some of my Tombow colors. I will try to say them here, and I will also try to link the set in the description box for you. I am using 723, 761, and then 991, 62, 243, 451, 452, 620, and 553 today, and I'm just going to color onto these stamps with the Tombow marker, and then I will just spritz a little bit of water on it and then stamp it, and it creates this really cool watercolor look. I used some watercolor paper for this, and it turned out really, really cool, and it actually had really a lot of texture to it, and so yeah, I just stamped like a little border on the bottom there with the Tombows, and it turned out really, really well, and I think it was a really subtle but fun technique to do. It's definitely, this stamp set is definitely like kind of watercolor-esque. It kind of reminded me of watercolor, so I definitely wanted to try this technique with it, and so yeah. Then to finish it off, I just added a little sentiment from the Honeybee Inside Kindness sentiment stamp set with some intense black ink, and I just trimmed it down, added some cardboard onto the back of it for dimension. You'll see I need a little bit more, so I'll cut some here to apply it to the panel I have here, and then I will add it to a light yellow card base. I thought there was kind of a lot of white space to add it to a white card base, so I decided I wanted to bring out some color, and I really loved the yellow with all these colors, so I decided to bring that in there. And then I will just add this to the card base, and I'm going to add a little pink heart under the sentiment to finish it off. This was really simple and really fun way to use this stamp set, another very different and unique way. So the last way, I'm actually going to be using paint again. I'm going to be using gouache, and I just kind of stamped it in light gray ink first, and then I went over it with gouache, and I just created this really fun background. Here's the card here, and I will show you an up-close look as well. And this one was really fun. Another one of my favorites. I actually did a reel on it, which I will post on my Instagram account, so go check that out if you want to see kind of the process behind it. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and come back next week for a new video. If you are interested in any of the supplies I used today, check the description box below. For more inspiration, please consider liking and subscribing, and for even more inspiration, check out my Instagram and Pinterest accounts at My Arts and Crafts. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.